When you squeeze down really hard on a grape, when you press on a grape really hard, what comes out? Grape juice. When you squeeze on an orange, what comes out of that orange? Orange juice. When you squeeze on a grapefruit, what comes out of that grapefruit? Bitter juice that I don't understand why anybody drinks. Point being, when you're squeezed, when you're pressed, when you go through a challenge in life, what comes out of you? The answer is the essence of whatever is inside of you. The essence of that grape is what's released when it's pressed. The condition of your heart, who you really are, is what's exposed to the world when you go through a trial. When you're suffering, the facade that you've put up, the lies that you tell the world about how you are doing, how you're okay, the lies that you tell yourself about how you're doing and how you're so okay, all those things go away and who you really are is exposed. So, when you go through suffering, how should you respond? What does that look like? Well, let's continue reading in Romans today where we've been this week. Today we're looking at Romans 12, verse 11 and 12. It says in verse 11, "Do not lag in zeal, be ardent in spirit, serve the Lord. Give God 100%. And then in verse 12, which is what I really want to talk about today, is rejoice in hope, be patient in suffering, persevere in prayer. Paul says to be patient in suffering. I don't know about you, but my automatic response to suffering is not often patience. Usually I want to fix the problem. Whatever the storm is, I want it to go away. I want to stop the bleeding. I want to make it better, take the pain away, and move on to the happy times ahead. I don't want to sit and be patient in that pain. Why would you want to sit and be patient in that pain? Well, God may be trying to show you something. He may be trying to illuminate something in your life that you need to see, that you need to work on, that you wouldn't be vulnerable enough to see unless you were going through that pain. He may be trying to put you around people that you wouldn't be around unless you were going through that particular storm. I don't know what that looks like for you, but maybe that's people that need to be in your life or you need to be in their life. You need to see what they have to say or vice versa. And you wouldn't even be around those people if you weren't going through this specific thing. As bad as it may be, God's trying to do something with it. He's trying to do something for you with it, for the kingdom, with that pain. So how do you find the ability to be patient in that suffering? The answer is in this verse. Paul says, be patient in suffering, persevere in prayer. When we're talking with God about what we're going through in prayer, it's easier for us to find his perspective. If we're not, and we're trying to solve it all on our own and do it all on our own, we're going to fall into that pit of despair. We're going to have that woe is me mentality, feel like we're being attacked. But when we're asking God for his perspective on our situation, we may be able to see, wow, I needed to know that. I needed to work on that. Or wow, that person's incredible. I'm so glad they're in my life. But if we're just wallowing in that self-pity, we're going to miss that. So prayer, a lot of times in my life for years, prayer was almost like a superstitious act. Or it's like you spill the salt and you throw it over your shoulder for good luck. It's like something bad would happen and I would throw a prayer up to the sky real quick, talk to God about it, and then I would go on and try to fix the problem on myself, not trying to fix it with him. And that's not the way it's supposed to be at all with prayer. Prayer is a conversation. Prayer is two friends sitting at a coffee shop, catching each other up on what they've been doing since they last talked. Prayer is me exposing my vulnerabilities to God, telling him about what I'm going through, how I'm feeling, how I'm processing it, and him lovingly encouraging me with what he's been doing in my life, what he wants me to see. It's a two-way conversation. Prayer is where we get brought into God's plan. Prayer is where we get to see his perspective on what we're going through. So if you're going through a struggle, maybe you can think back to one you've been through before, but if you're going through a struggle, the phrase that I've heard a lot of times is you're either in a storm, you just came out of a storm, or you're about to go into a storm. So if you're going through a struggle, I invite you to take a step back, to pray, to ask God for his perspective on it, and see what he wants to show you, what he wants to teach you through that storm.